All right, Alex. So I was wondering, thinking back to last session, we were talking about your dad and some of the more traumatic or troubling memories that you have about him. I'm wondering if you would be willing to go there again with me today.
Yeah, no, I would be willing to talk about that today.
Okay. Have there been especially troubling or, like thoughts that have been really weighing on your mind about him recently?
Yeah, I've been thinking about my dad a lot lately. Um, he was just like a really bad person when I was younger, and he like forced me to do a lot of sports and pressured me into like a lot of really negative gender roles that he felt were like appropriate for me. I know like when I was younger, he like would bully me and like let me get bullied by like people in my class or like people in like baseball or sports I did. And there were like a lot of times where he just said very horrible things that I just like couldn't deal with at the time. And like I know there were a few times where like people bullied me pretty aggressively, and he like saw and didn't do anything about it.
Wow.
Or like would abuse my mom, and like that was always terrible.
Yeah, that does. That sounds awful. Like, what kind of a figure does that turn your dad into in your mind? It was almost like a tyrant or just this, dictator figure in your life.
Yeah, no, he is definitely like an awful person, and someone who has like abused me most of my life. And I would say like a lot of the time I've spent thinking about it or dealing with it has been like just so much of just the frustration and anger and just like awful feelings about who he is as a person and just how he treated me and just the things that he talked about.
Yeah. When those kids were bullying you and he didn't do anything, what were they bullying you about?
Mostly about like not being good at the sports or like just not being like him being the coach. He was often the coach of like the team.
I see.
And like so I was treated differently and they resented me for that.
And he was there like constantly.
He didn't care.
Sports.
He really just didn't care. He just let it happen all the time.
Yeah, like that's my son who's
Yep.
Wow.
Didn't care. Just there's my son and he's a failure. God. And there we go.
Yeah. I mean, does that make you feel good about yourself, or what does that make you say about yourself now?
Not good. It makes me feel very, very not good. There's a lot of negative feelings surrounding that. I think of my dad, like huge piece of shit, and just like terrible role model, terrible emotional state to put me in, just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, that he would do those things to you and still call himself your father, that like this is supposed to be the most important person in your life, as a son. That's what they say, father, son. And he was just, I mean, he was harmful. He did so much.
No, he was actively an issue. Yeah. It was, he was just such a terrible parent for all of my life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's all of the time that we have for today's session. Thank you for coming. Do you want to do the same time for next week?
Sure, that would be great.